Security alert. Cities around the world where Americans should seriously reconsider moving. We all feel it, don't we? That pull towards the horizon, the allure of the unknown. Packing a bag, stepping onto a plane, and immersing ourselves in a completely different culture, a different way of life. Maybe it's the dream of retiring somewhere warm and affordable, finding adventure off the beaten path, or building a career in an exciting international hub. The world is vast and full of wonders, and the desire to explore it is deeply human. But here's a dose of harsh reality. A security alert nobody wants to issue, but one that, in April 2025, feels increasingly necessary. Not all destinations are created equal, and for American citizens, some cities around the globe currently pose risks so severe or living conditions so difficult that you should seriously reconsider any plans to move there or even visit. This isn't about fear-mongering. It's not about discouraging exploration or painting the world with a broad brush of negativity. It's about acknowledging uncomfortable truths, understanding specific documented dangers, and making informed decisions that prioritize your safety and well-being. Because while risk exists everywhere, yes, even in our own hometowns, the level and nature of risk in certain global cities have reached a point where the potential consequences are life-altering or even fatal. Ignoring these warnings, fueled by misplaced optimism or the dangerous "it won't happen to me" fallacy, is a gamble too many Americans are taking, sometimes with devastating results. Why Americans specifically? While travelers of all nationalities face risks, Americans can sometimes face unique challenges or become specific targets. Geopolitically, we are citizens of a global superpower, and in some regions, that unfortunately translates into being perceived as symbols of U.S. foreign policy, making us potential targets for terrorism, kidnapping, or harassment by anti-American groups or even hostile governments. Economically, Americans are often perceived, rightly or wrongly, as wealthy, increasing the risk of becoming targets for opportunistic or organized crime, including robbery, extortion, and sophisticated scams. Culturally, misunderstandings can arise, and in environments with vastly different legal systems or social norms, navigating disputes or unexpected problems can be incredibly complex and perilous. Add to this the reality that in many high-risk locations, the ability of the U.S. government to provide consular assistance, including emergency help, is severely limited or non-existent. You could find yourself truly, terrifyingly alone. So, let's talk specifics. Based on consistent patterns of violence, instability, political hostility, or extreme hardship, drawing from reliable security reporting and advisories like those issued by the U.S. Department of State. Many of these places carry Level 4 do not travel warnings. Here are categories of cities where Americans should exercise extreme caution, or, more realistically, avoid altogether for residency or non-essential travel right now in 2025. Category 1. Active conflict zones and cities gripped by anarchy. These are places where the basic functions of a state have collapsed, where active warfare or pervasive armed conflict makes daily life a battle for survival. Government control is minimal or non-existent in large areas, and the rule of law has been replaced by the rule of the gun. Essential services like power, water, and healthcare are crippled or destroyed. Foreigners, especially Americans, are at exceptionally high risk of being caught in crossfire, targeted for kidnapping, or worse. Sana'a, Yemen. Engulfed in a brutal civil war for years, facing famine, constant threat of airstrikes, Houthi control making movement and communication hazardous, and virtually no U.S. consular presence. It's unequivocally one of the most dangerous places on Earth. Kabul, Afghanistan. Since the Taliban takeover, the security situation remains volatile and unpredictable. There's a high risk of terrorist attacks, including by ISIS-K, arbitrary detention, severe restrictions, especially on women, and extremely limited ability for the U.S. to assist its citizens. Mogadishu, Somalia. Despite some progress, Al-Shabaab militants remain a potent threat, launching frequent attacks. Clan violence, piracy offshore, kidnapping, and a general lack of security infrastructure make it exceptionally dangerous. Damascus, Syria. While the Assad regime controls the capital, the country is fractured by years of civil war. Risks include terrorism, arbitrary detention by the regime, ongoing conflict in surrounding areas, and the presence of various armed groups. U.S. relations are non-existent, meaning zero consular help. Tripoli, Libya. The country remains divided and unstable following years of civil war. Various militias exert control. The risk of kidnapping and violent clashes is high, and the security situation can change rapidly. Port-au-Prince, Haiti. Check current status, as it fluctuates, but frequently high risk. Often gripped by extreme gang violence controlling large parts of the city, political instability, rampant kidnapping for ransom, collapsing infrastructure, and severely limited access to essentials. U.S. embassy operations are often restricted due to insecurity. Living or traveling in these cities isn't adventurous. It's playing roulette in an active war zone or failed state. The U.S. government explicitly warns citizens not to travel here for any reason. Category 2. Cities with crippling levels of violent crime and kidnapping. These cities may not be active war zones, but they suffer from epidemic levels of violent crime, often driven by organized gangs, drug cartels, political instability, or extreme poverty. Homicide rates can be among the highest in the world, and kidnapping, both traditional and express kidnappings for quick cash, is a pervasive threat. While wealthy enclaves or tourist zones might appear safer, violence often spills over, and navigating daily life requires constant, exhausting vigilance. Caracas, Venezuela. Economic collapse has fueled rampant crime. Armed robbery, homicide, kidnapping, and carjacking are commonplace. Basic services are unreliable. Hyperinflation makes finances chaotic, and the political situation remains tense. U.S. citizens have been detained arbitrarily. San Pedro Sula, Honduras. Frequently cited as having one of the highest homicide rates globally outside a war zone. Gang violence, maras, is endemic, extortion is rampant, and law enforcement is often overwhelmed or corrupt. Tijuana and Ciudad Juarez, Mexico. While millions cross the border safely, these cities, and others along the U.S.-Mexico border, are hotspots for cartel violence. Turf wars lead to shootouts, carjackings, and kidnappings. Americans can be targeted. Even venturing slightly off main tourist paths requires extreme caution. It's crucial to understand that the risk profile in these specific border cities is vastly different from resort areas like Cancun or Cabo, though caution is advised everywhere. Cape Town, South Africa. A stunningly beautiful city, but also one grappling with extremely high rates of violent crime, including murder, robbery, and carjacking, particularly in townships, but increasingly impacting tourist areas and wealthier suburbs. Use extreme caution, avoid displaying wealth, and be hyper-aware of surroundings. Rio de Janeiro, São Paulo, Brazil. While hosting millions of visitors, certain areas within these sprawling megacities, particularly the favelas, slums, but also sometimes spilling into more affluent neighborhoods, experience high levels of gang violence, armed robbery, and express kidnappings. Awareness of no-go zones and extreme caution, especially at night, are essential. Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea. High levels of unemployment and social tensions contribute to extremely high rates of violent crime, including sexual assault, carjacking, and robbery, often perpetrated by rascal gangs. Movement, especially after dark, is highly restricted for safety reasons. In these cities, the threat isn't necessarily state-sponsored, but the lack of effective state control over criminal elements makes life precarious. Daily routines require security measures unthinkable in most American cities. Category 3. cities with significant terrorism and political violence risks. These locations face ongoing threats from organized terrorist groups or suffer from severe political instability that frequently erupts into violence. Attacks can target government facilities, public places, or specifically Westerners. Political demonstrations can turn violent quickly, and government crackdowns can be brutal. Baghdad, Iraq. Decades of conflict have left scars. While large-scale warfare has subsided compared to the peak, the risk of terrorist attacks by ISIS remnants or other groups, sectarian violence, and clashes involving militias remains significant. U.S. personnel and facilities are often targets. Karachi, Pakistan. Pakistan's largest city faces complex security challenges, including threats from Islamist militant groups, sectarian violence, political unrest, and high rates of street crime. Foreigners need to maintain a low profile and be aware of potential threats. Cities in the Sahel region, e.g., Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso, Bamako, Mali, Niamey, Niger. This region faces a growing insurgency from groups linked to Al-Qaeda and ISIS. Terrorist attacks targeting civilians, government forces, and Western interests are increasingly common, even in capital cities. Kidnapping is also a major risk. Cities in northeast Nigeria, e.g., Maiduguri. This area remains the center of the Boko Haram and ISWAP insurgencies, making it extremely dangerous due to terrorism, military operations, and displacement. Travel to these areas often requires security escorts and careful planning, and residency is generally ill-advised for those not involved in essential high-security work. Category 4. Authoritarian regimes and high risk of arbitrary detention. In these cities, the primary security risk might not be street crime, but the state itself. Authoritarian governments may view American citizens with suspicion, particularly during times of geopolitical tension. The risk of being detained on flimsy or fabricated charges, like espionage, held without due process, denied consular access, or subjected to exit bans is real and potentially devastating. Pyongyang, North Korea. An extreme example. Virtually impossible for ordinary Americans to visit or live. Extremely hostile relationship with the U.S. Absolute authoritarian control and past instances of Americans being detained for long periods on minor or political charges. Tehran, Iran. Decades of hostility between the U.S. and Iran mean American citizens, especially dual nationals, face a significant risk of arbitrary arrest, detention, and being used as political pawns. Consular services are non-existent, handled through the Swiss embassy. Moscow, St. Petersburg, Russia. Especially given the current geopolitical climate, as of April 2025, following the invasion of Ukraine, the potential for harassment, arbitrary detention, selective enforcement of laws against U.S. citizens, and limited consular assistance makes residing or traveling here highly risky. The U.S. State Department has explicitly warned Americans to leave Russia. Beijing, Shanghai, China. While millions visit or live here, the risk of arbitrary detention, sudden exit bans preventing departure, and intense surveillance is real, particularly for those involved in journalism, academia, activism, or business sectors deemed sensitive by the Chinese Communist Party. Dual nationals are also at risk. Lack of transparency in the legal system is a major concern. In these places, keeping a low profile, avoiding any political commentary, and understanding that your rights can evaporate instantly are crucial, making long-term, carefree living virtually impossible for many Americans. Category 5. Cities with extreme hardship and infrastructure collapse. While not fitting the typical security threat mold, Some cities present profound challenges due to a near-total lack of functioning infrastructure, extreme poverty, and endemic disease, creating an environment of hardship that becomes a safety issue in itself. Kinshasa, DRC. A chaotic megacity grappling with extreme poverty, crumbling infrastructure, roads, power, water, high rates of disease, cholera, malaria, overwhelmed medical facilities, and potential for civil unrest. Daily life is a struggle for survival for many residents. Conakry, Guinea, and N'Djamena, Chad. Similar challenges: deep poverty, unreliable basic services, poor sanitation, limited access to quality health care, and potential for political instability contribute to incredibly difficult and potentially unhealthy living conditions. Living in such environments requires immense resilience, robust health precautions, significant financial resources for private solutions, generators, water purification, private healthcare access, and often a specific humanitarian or professional reason for being there. It's not a lifestyle choice for the unprepared. Beyond the headlines, the reality check. It's easy to read headlines about crime or instability and think, I'm smart, I'm careful, it won't happen to me. That mindset is dangerous. While street smarts help, they don't protect you from a car bomb, a politically motivated arrest, or a citywide infrastructure collapse. In many high-risk locations, U.S. embassies operate under tight security, their staff movement is restricted, and their ability to help citizens in distress outside the embassy walls is severely limited, especially in Level 4 countries. You cannot count on Uncle Sam to bail you out if things go sideways in Mogadishu or Caracas. This isn't about surrendering our desire to see the world. It's about trading romantic notions for realistic assessments. It's about understanding that some places, right now, carry risks that outweigh the potential rewards for most ordinary American travelers or aspiring expats. Before you book that one-way ticket based on beautiful Instagram photos or dreams of cheap living, do your homework. Read the entire U.S. State Department travel advisory for your destination country, not just the summary. Check recent news reports from reliable sources. Talk to people who have actually lived there recently, not just passed through as tourists. Understand the healthcare situation, the crime statistics, the political climate, and your own risk tolerance. Some adventures aren't worth the potential cost. Your safety, your freedom, your life, these are non-negotiable. Choose wisely. What are your thoughts on this? Do you agree with this assessment? Are there other cities you think pose exceptional risks to Americans right now, or perhaps places listed here where you feel the risk is overstated? Share your experiences, respectfully please, and perspectives in the comments below. If you found this security alert valuable, please hit that like button, share it with friends, family, or anyone planning international travel or relocation, and subscribe for more critical insights into global affairs, travel safety, and the realities of life abroad. Stay safe out there.